It is the Anfield Wrap. That clap is, if you heard it, it's because we're now YouTubed at the same time. So we're going to wave to the camera and then we're going to forget it's there. So there's that. So if you want to see what we look like as we do this show, even if you've listened to it, you can find it on YouTube. And if you're on the YouTube, then hello. This is the Anfield Wrap. I am Neil Atkinson. This is Robert Gutman, Stephen Evans and Paul Senior with me for the next hour or so to talk about when Liverpool beat West Brom by 2-2. Also to talk about the Europa League draw and to get into all the issues that are pertaining to Liverpool Football Club at the minute this week. But before we get into all that, we're going to want to do an opening question. It comes from Steve Cunningham, and it's Steve asking us what's the best pub in town for avoiding once-a-year Christmas drinkers. The best pub in town for avoiding once-a-year Christmas drinkers. No one is allowed to name their own pub. So we'll go first with Rob Gutman.
I think I've been with you in this one a couple of times. Jupiter's.
Yeah, you'll avoid them.
Jupiter's.
You will avoid them.
The reason you'll avoid them is because nobody would go to that place. Is it still alive, actually? I've not been for years.
Of course it's still alive. Yeah, still got the pool table.
It is still got its niche.
It's at the back of the saddle as you're going up. It's just past the hole in the wall.
Yeah, I've never found it sober. It's sort of places you go to. Did I dream that pub?
Yeah, once had a great afternoon there after the 3-3 derby a couple of seasons back where they were playing absolute bangers at full volume at 4 p.m. Steve Evans.
I'm at a bit of a loss, to be honest with you, because I'm one of these bar humbug people who, this Mad Friday when everyone goes out, I just give it the biggest wide berth possible. Any sort of any part-time drinkers, maybe it is, but any part-time drinkers, deal me out. I'm only with the full-time hardcores.
I'm going to give you some Mad Friday insight here.
Hit me.
Mad Friday, I think, has become the week previous. And everyone's gone, we'll do the Friday before. So now the Friday before is absolute chaos. And we look at our bookings and work and we're going, it's not as good as last weekend, so Mad Friday should be all right.
And the way it's fallen this year as well, Christmas falling actually on a Friday.
People are going back to work on Monday, aren't they?
Bit of a game changer. What about you?
The pub, I'm not really a pub guy, I'm a bar guy, but I think the likes of Filton and Fox will be good. Duke Street, really, really good place. I'm not just plugging it because they're my mates. It is a really good place. Anywhere else?
Yeah, don't plug anywhere decent.
Sorry, Rob.
Okay, that'll do us. I love the fact that Rob's genuinely annoyed when other good places appear. Liverpool then beat West Bromwich Albion by 2-2. It's very frustrating, Rob Gutman, that Liverpool didn't get all 3 points.
Yeah, it's a really, really, really strange game.
One of the strangest for a while, I felt.
Yeah. I'm almost a bit annoyed with myself. I'm not more upset about it, actually. And I think that must be because some good things happened in that game. Although I haven't quite taken stock of them. I think this will be the process here. For the first half hour, I mean, I'd watched Klopp's press conference, actually, a couple of hours before kickoff. I finally got around to watching it. And he clearly stressed the importance of the challenge they'd set themselves of how to break down a low block team. And he talked about how that is the perennial question in football. All big teams face this at home against mediocre teams. It's what you have to work out. And there's no quick answer to it. And I thought for that first half an hour, maybe it's 25 minutes, I'm not sure, it felt like we were beginning to answer that question. We created a great goal, which is a textbook of how you open up a team in tight spaces, lovely third man run, and everything's looking great, but we have that soft underbelly, and it makes it a mad game after that.
Steve, it is. It's one. I'm trying to write about it, think about it, do this sort of thing on it. It is such a strange game of football.
It is, and we spoke before the game. I was very, very confident before the game. I honestly thought this is the time we kind of Jürgen's Klopp Liverpool announced themselves at home, and I think for the first 20-25 minutes, as Rob said, we were very good. The tempo to our game, the rhythm of our passing, the movement was all very, very clever. And I thought, all we need now is a goal, and I think we'll kick on from there. We got the goal, and then obviously conceded a few minutes later, and visibly the life got sucked out of us, and we then got dragged down to their level a bit, really, and ended up trying to scrap for it for the rest of the game.
It was the urgency that was exciting. I thought there was lots of aggressive forward passing, Paul, from Liverpool. I thought Henderson was made almost an immediate difference when, you might have been a bit sceptical of playing him after the Sion game as well. But he did make an immediate difference, you felt. And that's why the set-piece mistake, you can say it's a catalogue of mistakes, but there's one core mistake. There is such a kick in the teeth.
Yeah, I mean, the start was great. It was really good. And I was saying to the lads around me, it's just important we get the first goal because you know what happens if they score first. So getting the advantage and to give it away in the way we did is the most frustrating thing about the game for me. it was the best. It was the best performance at home under Klopp for that first 20 couple of minutes. There was a clear game plan. Things were working, weren't they? But Henderson is the one that I felt was making the difference. We've said a lot said about his energy, and I think you've said it before yourself, Neil, where people forget about his passing, and it's just getting it out of his feet quickly. And that was there, and it was good. Although I felt he got injured on about 30 minutes and remained injured for the rest of the game. I don't know if anyone else sort of got onto that.
I felt he was the best player on the pitch for the first 25-30 minutes of the first half and for the first 20-25 minutes of the second half. If you see what I mean.
Do you see him go and change his boots or something?
That, yeah.
He kept testing that heel out of his, and I felt he sort of fell out the game a little bit from them. But it was noticeable that he was back, I felt, in terms of moving the ball quicker and getting the ball wider quicker. Just clever passing.
He looks very slender to me, Henderson. I think he's lost quite a bit of weight while he's been off training. He looks like he's definitely slimmed down a little bit, which may be a good thing or a bad thing mobility-wise. I'm not too sure, but
I thought, yeah, I was really pleased with him. I thought the link up in midfield really seemed to work in that opening half hour with Chan and with Coutinho. Coutinho, well, not a great game for him, and he's on his way back. I thought Chan was excellent. I think you could suddenly see that Chan and Henderson are going to be our primary midfield players. I mean, Milner's obviously, he's Milner, isn't he? He does those Milner things where you take stock after the event on them, really, more than at the time. But I thought they were quite a formidable little partnership there.
But then the goal kills us, and it kills most of the first half, saps the life out of us.
Yeah, it does.
Well, I mean, you're going to come up against a Tony Pulis side, Rob. You're going to get targeted from set pieces. Everyone is, regardless. There is a problem, though, where you feel as though if you're an opposition manager and you're coming to Anfield, the work you're doing when you're trying to work out how you're going to get a goal is set-piece work. Yeah. You're not thinking about patterns of play. You're thinking, just get stuff around the box, lump it in there, and if you've got all the Pulis stuff that you've got going on where your average height's about 6'3", then you feel as though we'll get chances. And West Brom, it's not just that one. You know, the goalkeeper's dreadful for the first goal. There's the one that's disallowed, doesn't look great.
There's one actually just shortly before we score, actually, funnily enough. Where
there's the second half one.
Yeah.
There's a litany of them, and this is properly being targeted from set pieces.
I know. Again, that press conference I watched just before, and Melissa Reddy asks a question which now seems really prescient. She says to Jürgen, she puts him on the spot. She goes, she actually talked about the two aspects that he answered. One about how you attack a low block side, but also she said, Jürgen, what are you going to do about the fact that all your goals are coming from set pieces? And he said, yeah, well, we know these are a set piece side. You kind of think, so I sort of was quite confident. I thought, yeah, okay, they're ready for this. But all he could really say is, you've got to concentrate. You've just got to concentrate. You've got to be switched on, I suppose. That's easier said than done. But it was ludicrous, really. I mean, actually, the first chance they have, where they bend, the guy checks back onto his right and bends one in, and one man breaks the line and just narrowly fails to connect. But Moreno's totally left him. He's totally let him go. The goal itself is a terrible mistake by Mignolet. It just is. After that, I don't know. I mean, the problem we've got, and without turning it into a Mignolet bash fest, it's I just think he breeds such uncertainty. He just breeds such uncertainty, and until we solve that problem, I don't know really what you can do on the training ground about it.
I mean, literally took the words out of my mouth there, Robert. I think as a goalkeeper, your defence needs to have complete confidence in him. If you look at the likes of the best goalkeepers in the world at the moment, your Courtois, your Neuers, your De Geas, they know if a ball floats into that 6-yard box, they can be 100% certain the keeper's going to come and he's going to deal with it. I think our defence in general now does not. He's so unpredictable. He does certain things sometimes. He puts even forget the flapper at the cross. He does things at times that he puts us under unnecessary pressure at times by doing stupid things. I think, as I know, again we spoke about length this year. That has been an issue for us, and I just don't. If a keeper can't do the fundamentals right of commanding your own 6-yard box, I think we're going to struggle defensively as a whole.
Do you think there's the manager came out afterwards and said, I told him to come for things. It's interesting, the thing that you're saying there, Steve, on how what the defence doesn't know what he's going to do. And yeah, I think this happened a little bit under Rodgers as well. You felt like Mignolet himself, you sort of just, do you think it'd be better if everyone just knew he's coming for nothing? He's coming for absolutely nothing and we've got to deal with it. Yep. Or he's coming for everything in the 6-yard box, or he's coming for do you know what I mean? It's like it should be, there shouldn't be shifts, there shouldn't be changes, there should just be, this is what's going to happen, so everyone knows now.
Well, if you, as a goalkeeper, if a ball's lofted into your 6-yard box, you have got to come for that ball as a goalkeeper. You've got to. If you don't, then you're asking for all kinds of trouble. I mean, you look at the second goal was more difficult for the keeper, but it was a difficult one to deal with at the front post. Should have been dealt with better by one of the defenders at the front post. But as a goalkeeper, if someone is lifted into that 6-yard box, you have got to come in and deal with that ball. That is your responsibility.
Yeah, it's the thing when you're a kid as a goalkeeper that they say anything in the 6-yard box is yours. You've got to go and take out whatever it is. I think you're right in what you're saying. I don't know whether there was a conscious effort to tell him to come for more stuff yesterday, and that's why he's gone for that. But
he has to go for
over
that.
His head, isn't it?
That he comes for anyway. I think. I don't even think a liner doesn't come for that.
It wasn't even so much that he flapped at it. It's actually when he misses it. I think he should do better with the save again afterwards. Yeah. I think he does poor with that as well.
Yeah, I think he's conscious that he's fucked up there. If I'm honest, I really do. I do think he's conscious, and he's flapping, trying to make amends for his error, and instead of just composing himself again, he's got himself in a tiz, and it's caught him out. Because although he does make an error on the cross, the way he reacts from that is disgraceful. As a goalkeeper, there's a couple of lads behind him who maybe could sort of get on the toes a little bit and try and have a little
There's a little bit of them that just almost looking at him, they're going, what are you doing now?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a problem, if you know what I mean. And that comes back to the idea of no one's got confidence in him. They're almost looking at him like, what's he done now?
He's not got confidence in himself either. I mean, he makes that terrible error he gets away with, doesn't he? What's that bit where he goes out, he tries to keep it in play unnecessarily down in the right back position, and he nearly gives away an absolute comedy goal. Yeah. You can almost see his eyes are too wide open. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like he's nervous, he's frightened. He seemed to gain a position in his own mind, I think, about February, March time last season, where I thought for the first time I'm watching a goalkeeper who now believes in himself again. He's now confident. But I thought watching in the last few months, he's not confident in himself, and I don't know how it's going to come back.
But isn't this what the set piece thing does? I mean, this is, we've seen practically every colour and hue of Liverpool side over the last 20 years go through something where suddenly set pieces are a problem. Everyone's gone through I think it then becomes, it's not just that they don't have faith in the goalkeeper, but that's the biggest issue. But the goalkeeper doesn't entirely have faith in them. They don't necessarily have faith in each other. There's no way in which, you mentioned Moreno before, and I think Moreno's had a really good season. Yeah. But there's no way in which you're not thinking, if you're Lovren or Skirtle, that lad at the back post is going to knock off. Because you've got endless examples of that lad at the back post knocking off.
Yeah, to knock her off.
And this is, but then what happens is the opposition see that's the opposition. The opposition go onto the pitch knowing we can score against Liverpool from a set piece. Yep. And the key thing in football is the manager puts the plan down. Everyone believes in the plan. They enact the plan. They then score. And then that's where the second one comes from. It's a great delivery. I mean, the second one is a great delivery. One of the reasons why it's a great delivery is he's striking that ball thinking, one good delivery here and it could be 2-1.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this thing, it breeds itself and it breeds itself and it breeds itself. And it takes, you've almost got to find some way to get rid of the root and branch. And I don't know what the answer to that is.
I don't either. I mean, there's a case for saying that the big teams I think they do tend to concede goals from set pieces to the little teams, because that's the only way they're going to concede, right? So that is a thing. And maybe the truth of the matter is what we actually need to do is be a bit brighter about getting the second goal and making it a bit more moot, the whole thing. But it has been a Liverpool problem as long as I can remember, although there have been phases of it. We did seem to, when we had Sami Hyypiä at his very best for a number of years, kind of lick it. And Sami played in front of a motley crew of keepers as well. So we weren't always throwing it away then. It re-emerged towards the end of Sami's career when he was in and out the side again under Rafa, didn't it? And it never seems to have gone away. I felt about 3 months before the end of last season, as Mignolet's form started to go again, or was it 2 months before, I thought, he'll be on your managerial gravestone, this lad, Mignolet. And I don't want to say he'll be on Klopp's, but because it's far too early to make that kind of call. But I think a Liverpool manager one day soon has got to deal with this problem head on.
Do you know we've said so much? Sorry, Steve. We've said so many times about us being a nice bunch of lads. Do you not think that's part of the problem here as well? Because the thing I notice when they get a corner, like the only fella I can sort of notice organising is Emre Can, and I think there's a clip from yesterday, and he's noticeably unhappy from where everyone is in sort of getting themselves organised. there's been a lot written about Martin Skrtel recently. I think there might have been an article for the site where they're saying he's quite an easy opponent, despite his, his outlook, his appearance. That he's quite an easy opponent to have on a corner and stuff like that. And I just think there's no real voice there, and I think that should come from the goalkeeper mainly. I've not played Premier League football, but he's the main organizer there, in my opinion. But then also you're talking about Sammy Hoopier most of his career had Jamie Carragher next to him, who would be screaming in that instance. I don't see that in us at the moment. I think that's a bit of a problem. And the only one fella, Bar Chan there yesterday, who I could see genuinely annoyed about what had happened at the set piece is Benteke. And it was quite interesting how involved he was getting in defending set pieces.
He made 2 really good clearances, actually. And funnily enough, it was something... when you sort of read what Aston Villa fans were saying about him just before he joined us, as he was joining us, he was supposedly a bit weak on his own set pieces. They sort of lamented that was one flaw in his game, is that despite being a unit, he wasn't particularly potent in his own box. But I thought yesterday was good examples of it.
It's funny, as Neil mentioned before, teams do come to us thinking, set plays, we are going to cause them problems at set plays, and one of our biggest problems, I think, also is we believe that now.
Yeah,
we actually get we get a corner against us or a free kick in a dangerous position, and we're all of a sudden on edge. We get so nervous in and around defending them set play, and we actually believe we're going to cause that belief is causing ourselves own problems.
That's one of the reasons why. Do you think they're all worried about their own game? Is one of the reasons why they're not maybe organising each other well enough, because they're all thinking, I've just got to do my job, I've just got to do my job, I've just got to do my job.
Yeah, very much so. It's been a problem for so long now that it must psychologically, they must think, oh shit, a corner, what are we going to do here? Someone's going to make a mistake, no one make a mistake.
You feel that in the ground though?
Yeah,
you feel that from us,
the crowd gets nervous and it transmits to the players all the time. I hate it. Any set player, you can hear the ground, oh God, here we go. You can hear it go around the ground. The players must feel that too.
Do you know what it affects as well? I think it affects how you deal with the second ball, and that's where most of these goals end up being conceded. Because I think that everyone allows themselves to be a bit shell-shocked at what's happened first. Oh, he's not gone and dropped it. You know what I mean? This is happening in microseconds, but I think that's happening. Rather than going, okay, it's a second ball, we go. I don't think psychologically they're ready. This is entirely a psychological issue, by the way.
Of course it is.
Okay, Gardner should have been sent off. I was saying after the game that just from our vantage point, I didn't actually think. I think he's gone for the ball, so on and so forth. I haven't seen some replays this morning.
Studs up. That's vicious.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
He does.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's just horrible what he's done.
It's funny. As soon as I was at the main stand, it was the other side for me, and I jumped up. I was like, why? What the fuck was that? And everyone kind of looked at me. I said, did no one else see that bad tackle? And I seen the people in the camera, and they stood up and had to go. But as soon as he did, I went and knew exactly what he'd done there. He's put his foot high on the ball. Yep. So when he gets the ball, his foot rolls over the top of the ball and goes straight into Lovren's knee. It was a very, very bad tackle.
Yeah, it's a bit like is it like Carragher and Nani and one of them, isn't it? Where I think it's not that bad, but it's there's visible damage to the lads. You can't avoid that whether you win the ball or not. It's dangerous play, isn't it? There's that trailing leg which sort of makes it a 2-footed tackle. You can't leave marks on lads like that and there's not be a foul.
Gets him on the knee. It's that high. It's on the knee. All his damages.
I'm pro tackling in football, but that's a bad tackle. It's definitely a red card. It's not. I don't think it's clear as day in the ground. I'm in the KOPP, and I don't think it's clear as day there. But I've gone, that looked naughty. But the guiders, the lads who were right by it, they were all up, aren't they? Yeah. They're all up.
I'm actually surprised there was less reaction from the Liverpool players. There wasn't that much towards the referee.
I think because it's almost so like the ball's already gone.
Maybe
they're not actually looking at when he finally makes that contact. I thought, because what's happening is your eyes taken to, because Gardner's knocking the ball into Lovren's steaming in as well. The ball bounces off. So I think that everyone's just gone, whoop, where's the ball? And you don't actually get to see. They weren't aware that he was in that much pain for a good 10-15 seconds there, because he was screaming.
I could scream. I mean, it's funny if that was Chelsea or Manchester United or something like that, they would have been around that referee in seconds.
A couple of lads around me thought it was the other way around. Thought that Lovren had done Gardner. It was. I don't know if it was just the perspective of the tackle in the ground from where I'm sat or what. But they're like, have we got away with one there because Lovren's gone to do him and he's come out worse. It was interesting. So if I don't think there was a mass appeal from the stadium for a red card or anything like that. So
what there was, though, it was noticeable how angry the lads in the lower Kemlin were.
Yeah.
That's what got me. What got me when I was thinking, well, maybe it wasn't that bad. What was noticeable looking back was that the crowd, and they've seen a lot of football. A lot of them were genuinely aggressive towards Gardner in a way which is actually quite rare these days in any Premier League football ground to sort of see that level of, to the point I was worried that people might get on the pitch.
Yeah.
Because they were absolutely calling him for absolutely. Yeah, when he goes to take the throw,
Yeah, he gets a lot of stick.
He gets, and he says something back. I think he tries to say something back like it didn't mean anything or something like that. And then I was thinking, someone might try and get on the pitch here because they were absolutely livid about it. But
it comes at 2-1 down, doesn't it?
On the plus side, it doesn't look like it's too bad an injury. I think it's just some stitches. He said maybe 2 weeks out, but obviously Sacco's fit as well now, which is maybe
I thought
comes at the right time.
Maybe harsh if he went off badly, but I didn't think he was having his greatest game there, Lovren. And I know that's not a high bar in his worst games, but he looked to be having one of those games where you think you're backing yourself again. Just don't. You know what I mean? There was a bit of I know we slaughtered Mignolet here, but Lovren looked nervy to me. I can't think of any specific horror show things, but you could just see something in his body language where he was heavy, a little heavy in his touches, a little over-mannered in his approaches to the ball. I don't know, but that's by the by.
I think Lucas helps Lovren a lot because Lucas can allow Lovren. Lovren loves attacking the ball, doesn't he? Well, I think Lucas sees him coming a little bit, and he'll drop in. And I think that was noticeable there yesterday, where Lovren wants to go and do all the same stuff, but he hasn't got someone with the sort of. He's got Chan, hasn't he? He's not got a football brain quite as much as Lucas has, and I think that may have been what led to what you're thinking about him there yesterday.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
Okay, the equaliser the least we deserve. Out of the game, thought we kept coming, kept playing. It's noticeable was that it was probably, in all senses, the manager being himself the most since he's been here. Still, a lot of what was said about him beforehand. He's been endlessly nice so far as Liverpool manager, whereas yesterday, post-match, he's clearly furious. He's furious with Pulis before that tackle. He's furious with what West Brom have come to do. He's clearly absolutely determined to win the game and to put a performance in and begin to solve these problems. So he's getting into it with the bench. He initially is going with Toure when Lovren goes down injured and then rethinks and goes, no, we'll go Origi. It's going to go mental. We're going to make it mad and we're going to pull it out the bag. He then goes berserk, absolutely berserk at 2-2 in terms of inciting the crowd. Looked like he was picking on people who looked like they were getting off, which was good to see in a sense, and then bringing the players over at the final whistle. It felt like the first time he's let himself cut loose a little bit, whereas before maybe he's been keeping an eye on stuff, he's been reserved. In all senses, you felt like it's a bit of a watershed for him, possibly with us.
Yeah, it was great to see. It really was. I mean, he was an absolute lunatic on that line yesterday. I mean, I sit main stand side anyway, and I was, I had to always have an eye on what he's doing. But the way he celebrates that second goal, he was like literally for 5 minutes after just lifting his hands to the crowd all the time, and he really got the place going. And I thought the atmosphere yesterday, second half especially, was great. I thought all the fans had a really good go, and it kind of came from nowhere really. But obviously towards the end of the pitch, taking all the fans towards the end. I mean, a lot of people are onto Twitter saying getting a bit of stick for it. I'm all for it. You know what I mean? We've got one of the best young managers in Europe at the moment who literally walk into all but maybe 2 or 3 sides. If we're not going to get behind him when he does stuff like this and back him, he'll just go and do it somewhere else. You know what I mean? He wants the fans to be like him. He wants the passion. He wants the drive, the craziness. We've got to embrace this while he's here. It's fantastic to see.
Does anyone get onto a noticeable? I think it was around 60 minutes to KLOPP almost decides we're going to have a go here.
Yeah,
it was weird because I'm sat there in my seat and I'm sat around a load of lads, and I'll be honest, not a lot of them get up and sing, and it's quite frustrating for me because I'm happy, but you don't want to be that only guy, I suppose. And there's been loads said about atmosphere, but there was a lot of thing from the sides I felt yesterday and behind me in that singing section in the KLOPP, where around 60 minutes you'd have thought to ourselves, well, the manager's actually asked for this and we could actually do with it. Let's try and get involved in the game.
Give the Annie Road having a go again.
Yeah,
probably. That's always a good sign when the Annie Road won.
The main stand. I was having a good go. I mean, I'd had a bevy before the match, so obviously.
Not like you used to.
I was singing in the upper centenary room. There was an old lady behind me as well.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good.
It was great, and I think the manager deserves massive credit for that. But it was him, Rob, and it is right to put this. There's got to be. Whilst he's the manager, there's got to be this notion that the players commune with the supporters, that we're as one. That's a massive part of what he's about as a person, seemingly, the stuff you've seen recently that he's been doing with the LFC Foundation and all this sort of stuff that appears to be a real sort of, it's not just going mad, there's an underpinning ethos of sheer passion for this thing that we do, because this thing that we do is a bit of a mad thing. As I wrote yesterday, you can say it's just 22 lads kicking a ball around, but it isn't. It's much more than that, and it felt like that's what he wanted. We've all come together, we get the equaliser, we don't go on and win the game, but there's only 90 seconds left. But it did feel like he wanted to go, right, there you go, these are you're them, this Does everyone understand that you're them and they're you and they're you and you're them? Does everyone get that? And that felt like it felt like a real sort of, right, we're all in this together thing. We're a bit rubbish at times, but we're all in this together.
Yeah, you know what? I think Klopp's a skilled opportunist, and I mean that in the most positive way. And I think he's almost waited for this moment. I think he thought it came to get. We'd all seen beforehand, as Steve said, I think he said that in Dortmund, him going to the fans, that bringing the players towards the fans, it's what he did. I think we almost expected it day one from him. That one club philosophy, that one club mentality. We thought, I suppose, we none of us knew how he would enact it. This is the first phase of the true enacting of it, I think is what we saw yesterday. I think at the beginning, his modesty and that natural dignity made him not go to the KOPP till now, but I think he thought now is the time. Now is the time. I think this is the consummation of Klopp and the KOPP. Can I say that? I almost think that's the first time we've had sex with him, and it felt wonderful. I mean, and the thing is, he changed the agenda away from a 2-2 draw, which is the third bad result we've had in 4 games, and I came away thinking, did we win this or did I get confused? Yeah, we all know, we all felt slightly like it was a win. Not just because it's a late equaliser, because of the passion, because of the occasion, because we felt like something good might happen from this.
Do you know, Gareth wrote a pretty good article, Robert, today, which I read on the way here about what happened after the match, and he makes a very good point about it's about time we stop trying to be a bit too cool for school. People go to the match now and trying to be all this car, I'm not singing that, I'm not doing that. It's time we just embrace it and just go with it. Because otherwise, we're not going to go anywhere. It's just going to stay the same all the time. We have to embrace this and go forward. Because we've got the chance with this manager who's going to be in demand now by any club in Europe, I think. So we need to be behind him.
I was dead conscious about when Klopp first arrived that I think he was quite shocked at all the Jürgen Kloppisms he'd had thrown at him. And I think he was dead conscious about bringing that in before he'd really done anything.
Yeah, that's what I meant. A bit embarrassed.
Yeah, I think he was genuinely embarrassed. And I don't know, I said to somebody around the 3rd or 4th game, I'm like, I'm worried for Jürgen Klopp here because I felt he was getting a little bit sick of it all, if I'm honest. And he's just been nice as pie in all his press conferences. And I don't think we've been looking for them sort of moments, haven't we, that we got yesterday from him where...
I think it's a strange thing, isn't it, that the 2 games that we've, the 3 big wins that we've had, the 6-1, it's a 6-1 in the League Cup, but it's not a last minute thing. It's this is in the bag. The 4-1 against City, Scale whacks it in on an 80 and then it's in the bag. And these games have all also been away from home. So he's not had that moment of, there you are, there's one of these, even anything, and it feels like this is the first one that's come and he's thought, I'm having this.
I think he's creating not muscle memory. I think he's trying folk memory. Is what he's next time this happens, we are going to remember what that felt like. And even though we didn't get the result, we got the siege, we got the passion in the ground, we got a goal. Good things happened in that last 5 minutes, and I think what he will have succeeded in doing is creating a memory there that'll be with us for next time we have to deal with that. Might not work, but it'll help.
I think he wants, that the comment a few weeks ago about people getting off on 84 minutes and stuff like that. He's going, well, if they score in 84 minutes, remember West Brom. Remember the fact that we scored in the 96 minutes. Remember that there could be. I mean, there was 8 minutes yesterday. Yeah. There's 20 more minutes to play there yesterday. Don't go, stay with us. There's a lot of football to be played. It's not over till the fat lady sings, all that sort of thing.
It's interesting, before the game, Klopp actually said, I sort of asked for a good atmosphere. He said, I have good atmosphere inside myself, but I want this to be the atmosphere. And he kind of got it. And I think that was just him going to the crowd saying, thank you. I asked and he delivered.
Me and Danny have been looking for these things, though. I remember going to Tottenham and I think we went up before the players were on the pitch. You were all outside having a bevy. And I looked at your Danny and went, do you want to go up and see if anything happens? And I've been going up noticeably earlier than I would normally, just to see them sort of Jürgen Klopp things. It's a bit of a childlike thing to do, but I'm a football fan and I enjoy that sort of thing. And I think people have been waiting for that moment yesterday, even though it was a 2-2 draw with West Brom. I think everyone came away actually just enjoying that. That last 8 minutes was as much as I've enjoyed anything.
Okay, going to do the back to front in a second. Just want to mention the tour player stuff. Won the FSF awards. The last time it's getting mentioned, I've had enough of the palaver. But thank you for voting. Want to mention that speaking to someone about all the tour player stuff, he went, it's going really, really well. But there's people I speak to, and they're like, "Oh, I would sign up, but there's too many shows." It's not an exam. You don't have to listen to them all. So if you've been thinking about it and you're umming and ahhing, the idea is that, you know, if you think of the extra sort of somewhere between 9 and 11 there can be on any given week, if you think there'll be 3 or 4 that you're interested in, we'll just sign up for those 3 or 4. It is a variety pack of cereal. So don't feel the pressure to listen to absolutely everything. If you are, great, and that's really nice of you. But don't feel that sort of pressure. I also want to mention the City Talk show that we do is moving to 6:30 on a Thursday, and it'll be released as a podcast on the Thursday night. So that goes to 6:30 on a Thursday, so you can listen live through City Talk, or we'll have it as a podcast on that Thursday night. But what we're doing, because the City Talk show is moving, is we're doing a new Friday show. This Friday show is going to be an enormous look ahead to the weekend from a Liverpool perspective. Going to be talking to supporters of our opponents, going to be getting a couple of people in. I think this week it looks as though it's going to be, at the very least, Mike Girling and Ben Smith are going to come in and speak to us. We're hopeful we're going to get a Watford supporter on, and then we're also going to look at another couple of games across that weekend and try to get supporters of those sides on as well. The first 3 of them between now and the end of this year will be free for people to listen to, and then beyond that point, that will be going as a tour players show. We're hoping it's going to be a big deal. We're hoping it's going to add to what we're about. But as I say, if you just like that one, or you just like the idea of the Tuesday review with Sean Rogers, 1 or 2 others, then as I say, don't be put off and feel as though you've got to listen to absolutely everything. I understand you can have more than enough of me.
And you're going to get me on that one as well.
Oh, you're going to end up on when you're back from your break?
Yeah, I'm missing the very first one, which is brilliant timing, isn't it?
It's awful timing. The Friday show, and it was your night. You gave it the big name. You want to call it the Big Friday Show.
I know. Thank Gutman it's Friday didn't make the cut. No, I'm really looking forward to it.
You're looking forward to listening to the first one and then appearing on it from there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that, Neil. Okay, then. Back to front. We've mentioned the goalkeeper. The other problem the goalkeeper's got now, Steve, is himself and the crowd, in that I thought, for instance, there's the one where everyone said he should have caught it later on. Maybe he should have caught it, but he punches it 30 yards into touch for a throw-in.
He deals with it, yeah.
He deals with it. Yeah. And the point is everyone's furious. Everything he does from that point onwards, whether he does it right or wrong, or 70% right or 40% right, or no matter what he does, at that point, everyone's fuming with him. Absolutely, and that's no way to be, with 45,000 people, that's no way to keep goal.
No, it's a massive issue, and I've seen him, I think Paul mentioned it on Twitter as well a while ago. This nervousness that comes from the crowd every time he's involved must make him 10 times more nervous. He literally sometimes can't win. Yeah, he makes mistakes. Goalkeepers are going to make mistakes, but the last thing you need is 40,000 people getting on his case every time he gets the ball, because that's just not going to help them at all, is it? You know what I mean?
There's nothing he can do.
No,
right?
I mean, I know exactly the moment yesterday. He could have caught it. He could have done a scorpion kick. Whatever he'd done, he would have got slaughtered for it.
He could have brought me a cup of tea at the end. I'd have flipped it out of his hands.
He was going to get some
stick
for that. So yeah,
that's fuming.
That is an issue now on the ground. That is a massive issue for me. The crowd get very, very nervous and very, very edgy every time he gets the ball.
It's mad, isn't it? I mean, we said the other week to me, like, every time he's got hold of the ball, people are almost counting seconds to him now because he did that thing once. Yeah. It's getting a bit ridiculous. I mean, but I understand the frustration with him, and I'm with everybody on that. And
it's not the crowd's fault. I'm the same. I mean, this isn't like don't do that. How can you not do it? It's football. No. You're emotionally invested. You're all in. This is completely what you do, and this is the problem that you now become this problem. You've got this problem. It's your problem. It's the problem of your creation. If you're Mignolet, Rob, how do you fix this? Well, you fix this by being good for 8 weeks.
Yeah, I'm not. It's not suddenly becoming my fault as part of the crowd.
Absolutely not.
This is not. Simon, you've ruined my weekend. I know, and you're well paid for it, lad. I know we shouldn't even say that. It's just got to get better. I think, look, he's probably a very nice man. I think if he's going to be a good, great goalkeeper, he's going to have to dig deep. He's going to have to deal with this. He's going to have to use it to motivate himself and come back. He did come back last season, actually. I was hugely impressed with him in that good middle third spell, how he came back. But he then fell off the cliff again. And I don't think there's any more clear. He really has to sort himself out very quickly. Klopp's did exactly the right thing, the opposite of what the crowd wanted him to say, I suppose, if truth be told, by saying, I have every faith in him. He's a really intelligent keeper. Yeah, he's my number one guy. Why would I look at another keeper? We were all sitting there gritting our teeth going, because he's fucking shit. But it was the right thing to say to give him a chance.
Of course, he's going to do that, isn't he? I mean, you've got to fill out of confidence. He's still got games to play. But even if we are going to buy a goalie in January, he's still got 10 games to play between now and then. You can't go, yeah, he's shit, we're going to buy another goalie. You know, what's just going to make him go, yeah, I'll just stand here and drop everything.
That's it. I mean, I just literally looked at the date on my calendar there and was going 17 days till January. I wonder if he'd do anything. I don't even think he will. Is the honest answer to that.
We were here this time last year, though, hoping for Victor Valdez or someone, weren't we? 17 days from January.
Might have that chance.
Paul Victor imprisoned at Old Trafford. Go on.
There's a lot of football to be played, as Steve said, and you can't. The manager can't crucify him because, as much I keep having people saying to him, "Well, just throw Bogdan in." I still think Mignolet is better than Bogdan. I think there'll be errors in Bogdan that you'd find out after a couple of weeks. His distribution's good, but maybe there's something else that does your head in.
There's errors in every goalkeeper. Every goalkeeper makes errors. It's when they continually make the same errors. That's when it's time to look at things and go, what's going wrong here.
I do feel we're a little bit part of the problem, though, because I feel he's looking...
Jordan, to get used to it, mate.
It's not going to change. But
Jordan, you'll never walk alone. Yesterday, I was watching him come towards the Kop. Not a fella's clapping him, and I'm going, and he's desperate. So he's clapping like a bloody seal or something, you know. Desperate for that sort of love from the Kop, and it's not coming. And I think the little thing where he's run out the box and tried to take a touch is trying to go, listen, I've got this, but it's gone wrong for him again. It's an obvious problem position for us, isn't it? And we're just going to have to put up with them until it's sorted.
All right, centre halves. Mentioned Lovren before having a bit of a funny game. There's the ongoing Martin Skrtel situation, which is that he's always at the scene of the crime, and is he ever sufficiently involved? We keep conceding these goals. Martin Skrtel is playing centre half for Liverpool. At some point, something's got to get resolved here. It's not, I thought just in regular play, I thought he did all right. I thought he did well when Chan moved to centre back, it was interesting. But I thought Skrtel really helped Emre Can. I actually thought Skrtel's level went up a couple of notches there, because suddenly he was thinking, I've got to really look after this lad a little bit here. There's just two of us at the back. Now maybe he should be thinking about like that all the time. But it did seem, there's constant bits and pieces of maturity in the football that he plays, but you just don't feel there's anywhere near enough dominance.
No, you don't. I don't know. I'll not be able to make sense of Skrtel in my own mind until long after he's retired and put him in perspective.
It's like content for 2018, the Skrtel retrospective.
Yes. Martin. Those were the days. How I misjudged you. I don't know. I tend towards being more generous than others would be towards him, I think, because I think he had a great centre-half alongside him. He'd look all right. I think him and Sammy, did they play? They played together a little bit, didn't they?
Only a tiny amount.
Yeah, I think together he would have grown up a better centre-half alongside Sammy for long, and he would look fine. But then that could apply to actually me. I'd have been okay alongside Sammy in my life. But I don't think he's that bad, but he's out. He's probably been our best centre half now for a number of years, and that's a bit of an indictment of where we are as a defensive unit.
I don't know if he's good or bad. I honestly don't.
Either, really.
It's weird.
It's beyond my skill set. This one.
Yeah, it's literally like. Sometimes I look at it and I never thought Glenn Johnson ever did him any favours, because I always felt he was having to cover for him and getting dragged out. And then this year with Klein at the beginning of the year, I was like, Klein's a bit more solid than Glenn Johnson, even though he's so good going forwards. He's quicker to get back. But I genuinely just don't know whether he is a major problem for us and part of the problem, or if actually he's stopping this being a bigger problem. He's really strange, because there's never... It's not like Lovren where you go, that's definitely your point with Skrtel. He's sometimes like, could he have done better? I'm not sure. And that's my big frustration with him, because you've never had a Liverpool side for, I don't know, the last 7 or 8 years that he hasn't really been a mainstay of.
Yeah, I'm very much with Paul on this one. It's, you say we concede a lot of goals from set plays, and none of them you go directly, that was his fault. But sometimes you think, well, where were you? They're scoring there, but where are you? You don't really see him commanding. As the keeper as well, you never see him commanding that box anymore.
It's not like he's making 6 clearing headers and then with the next one they put in, they're just dodging him. Do you know what I mean? That's my thing on this. It's not as though. But then that said, you very rarely see him sort of lose an aerial contest that leads to them scoring a goal.
Yeah.
So he can't be doing things terribly wrong, but it's quite difficult to, he's not there just nodding them away.
Yeah.
It's strange, isn't it?
Maybe it's looking for a scapegoat. I don't know. Maybe I just expect my centre halves to be in the thick of it, and should be dealing with things better. But as I said, usually he's on the penalty spot with one of the strikers in the headlock, isn't he? So, it's.
I wonder, do you think he'd be better in a different league? I mean, let's put it this way: the Premier League finds out all manner of centre halves because of it's the aerial thing that is always going to happen. The lower third always have that aerial threat, and I don't care which defenders you've got. The cream of Europe, Barca's defenders would be made fools of in our league.
Barca have been at least up until this season, Mascherano and Piqué at centre half. You can't do that against West Brom at home.
No, you can't. They'd look shit. So I just wondered if Skirl had played for Juventus for the last 5-6 years. He might be actually quite a coveted European centre half. He looks to me at least as good as the lads that City put alongside Company every now and again. There's a litany of them.
That's mad because there's a lot of value in them as well. If you look at the likes of Mangala and Otamendi, they're £40 million centre halves, and he is. Probably, I wouldn't actively swap them. I
want for Company if he wants to fancy the game, but not the other three. I don't think.
Okay, moving on to the full-backs. I felt first half, especially Paul Klein was in a lot of space. He had a lot of the ball, and I like Nathaniel Klein. I think he's clearly defensively the best right back we've had, arguably since Arbeloa. He's probably better going forward than Arbeloa. But there are just days where you're thinking to yourself, and he's just had the full game at Sion as well on that frozen pitch. And I was looking at that with Klein and thinking to myself, I just want some more from you here. If you can have a decent 10-15 minutes, we can just get in again and again. And it's harsh because he's a fullback, but this is one of the things that solves it when you come up against the West Broms of this world.
You wish you could sort of evolve into like a Jordan Ibe once he goes past the halfway line, don't you? Like I've regular listeners to like the Pink and stuff will know that I've been bigging our fullbacks up all year, and yesterday I was looking for more from Klein. I think he does everything well in terms of a territorial thing and getting us forward quickly and stuff like that. But end product is a bit of a problem with him.
He tucked in a bit for me too much in the first half as well. I thought get chalk on your boots. They were giving him a lot of space. He could have provided better options.
I think it's interesting how much space they were giving him.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
I think there was an active tactic from Liverpool yesterday in the first half where we were trying to score a goal at the back post. Every time Benteke was peeling off, and it looked like we were playing it down the right and we were looking for an early ball in.
There's a lot more mixing it up going on, I thought, yesterday, Paul.
Just putting it in the box.
Was good to see.
But it is that, and I think it's the same for Moreno as well. You're just looking for a better delivery.
It's funny because in this formation that we play, this 4-2-3-1 or the 4-3-2-1, your fullbacks are vital, aren't they? That's where your width is coming from. And if they're bowling up and down the line, you need end product for them. And unfortunately, at the moment, they haven't quite got it for me. Defensively, couldn't ask for anything better off Klein. I think, as Neil said, he's one of our best we've had for a long time defensively. But some of the positions he gets himself into, I want to touch more from him end product wise. I just don't think he quite delivers on that.
Do you
sometimes.
think, though, I'll come back to this, maybe it's somewhere else, but a lot of the time when you watch Liverpool this season, you felt as though sides have been quite happy to let Moreno have it, to sort of let the space be on Moreno's side. You can only cover so much of the pitch, that's why there's 11. You can only cover so much. I thought West Brom did the opposite. I thought West Brom were trying to stop Moreno from getting his or at the very least stop the left side from functioning for Liverpool, where Benteke pulls, where Coutinho pulls, and they were quite happy with the idea of especially Klein having the football. And I think that when that begins to happen, because the much maligned Johnson, the one thing that used to happen with Johnson was you always had the impression that even when he was dreadful, which he could be in some games, but you always had the impression the opposition were thinking we've got to keep someone close to him because he could just go round three. And this is sometimes it's not for me. What I'm trying to drive at, I think, is it's not even a matter of end product. It's more a matter of stretching the pitch and at least making them care more about what you're going to do. And I thought that Steve, I think that's the problem. If you consistently don't have end product, then more and more often sides will just go, well, we can let him have it because he can't hurt us, and by the time he gets it under and blah blah blah, we've all shuffled over, and you know what I mean.
I mean, like West Brom had obviously done the homework on this yesterday because you could visibly see Klein. You can go in there, mate, because he gets to a point, Klein, where you think, just knock it past him and go and just test his legs. And he seems reluctant for me to do that sometimes. I just, a bit like I was sometimes, but I've been doing a lot more now, especially under Klopp. He seems to have a bit more self-belief in his own ability to beat big plays and stuff. I think Klein just needs to just take a few more chances. I don't mind if he loses it in there by their penalty area, trying to beat a man. I'd rather he did that than trying to just turn back inside sometimes and just go back to the same sort of knock around the sides, knock it back inside.
I think we also don't get close enough to our fullbacks. I think the reason Klein gets the space is because they're loading on, as you said, on the left side. It's because Coutinho's back. They've clearly talked about Coutinho in their team talk. He's the one you've got to stop because that's what the buzz is as well with Liverpool. Even though Coutinho's just back from injury and not at his best. But Coutinho does slip Moreno in a lot. The number of times we do get in behind, Moreno doesn't give you a lot of quality, but you suddenly feel your heart flutter. Oh, Moreno's in. But Klein, I don't know. Lallana, who I thought had a really good game yesterday in his what's becoming his understated way, doesn't get wide enough. Doesn't give Klein an option outside him. For me, to attack from the back with fullbacks properly, the way we used to with Phil Neal, Alan Kennedy, and with Steve Nicol and John Barnes, is you've got to have a winger who's prepared to go outside the fullback or a midfield player. It's not going to. They should almost pass each other within like half a foot of each other at some point in the process. You can do now. We've got video. I can actually demonstrate this like that.
Well, Milner does a lot of that. It's noticeable. Milner spends lots of time running out. I think a lot of the time Milner runs himself out of the game.
Maybe,
like James, you've just made this mad run because all you think this mad diagonal run from the centre of the pitch into a wide area when no one can ever give you the ball, and all he's trying to do is this sort of the Man City thing of just sort of try and find ways to create little pockets for them people to move into. But he makes the mad run and no one does.
He's
and it's the next thing
by the time he gets there.
And he's also running. He's sprinting 20 yards, but also he actively doesn't want the ball. I think, and a lot of the time we're passing the ball, and he's like, "No, it's a dummy run. It's a dummy run. This one."
Well, that's what that was going to be my point. Rob touched on it there. I when I said originally about I wish he'd evolve into Jordan Ibe, it's because Jordan Ibe can go both ways. I think Klein can only go down the line. Or I've said it on a few shows before where I think Klein loves the second man going round him, and we get that lad coming to support him, but he's coming from inside. We're not going round the outside.
He offers this sort of backwards diagonal.
He's looking for someone to overlap rather than come and support him. So he's seen it a lot, I think, at the moment where he's having to do a little 1-2 and try and get across in now.
Yeah.
And I think what we need to do is try and get someone who can. It's a thing with not playing with width, which I think we miss, but that's a different issue. I just think he wants and always does want someone running around him.
Okay, mentioned before, Rob. Chan had, I think, probably his best game at holding midfield for Liverpool. Impressive, and was impressive when he moved himself back to centre back as well in terms of helping drivers on and push the football match. Still a few little moments in there where he's very rash, certainly in his own penalty area. But I think you're just going to have to, we're just going to have to live with them. And it offers something. It offers when we're talking about breaking down these sides at home. It wouldn't surprise me if you continue to see Lucas away from home or against the better sides in there. But this idea, I think, West Brom didn't want that much of the ball, but every now and again when they did want it, Emre Can was working very hard in alongside Henderson to win it back.
Yeah, it's funny. He's growing this season, isn't he? From the beginning of the season,
looks like he's lost weight as well.
Yeah. From the beginning of the season, where I think one or two of us were sort of thinking he could be. He's probably going to be good, but the watching him grow process isn't going to be a lot of laughs. You know what I mean? There's going to be too much. I'm actually beginning to enjoy watching him develop, despite the brain whatevers every now and again. I turned to my mate next to me at the match after 25, just before West Brom scored. I was giddy with how we were playing, and I went, Emre Can's going to be some player, isn't he? I mean, I thought he had really taken control of the game. The only thing I thought he needed to add to his game yesterday, in the bit that was most positive, was shooting. I thought there's times where the pitch opened out before him, and that boy can hit a ball. In fact,
you're not worried by the amount of times our solution to the problems yesterday was blam it from 25 yards.
Coutinho's solution was wrong, I thought, three times.
There was a fair few, I think it was 6 in the first half alone, where we're striking it from outside the penalty area. And I'm just a little bit going, lads, there's got to be something else we can do here. So the idea that you're encouraging another one, I'm not in favour of.
Well, should I tell you what I didn't... Okay, well, my perspective of that was that whether they've been instructed, I don't know, but I particularly noticed Coutinho doing it when Benteke and Lallana clearly made good runs off him and were actually fuming. Well, especially Benteke was quietly annoyed he wasn't slipped in by Coutinho. So I thought that was wrong. But I thought Can had an opportunity where there wasn't a pass on. It was very compact. And whacking one in that might bounce off the keeper's chest or might just fly in was something worth trying at certain points. I just think he's got a dig on him. I'd like to see. I think he hit the post a couple of times last season. I'd like to see it happen once in a while.
Well, what was noticeable, I thought, maybe it was the weather, Steve, about the shooting from distance. What was noticeable a couple of times again in the first half was that it looked like Lallana, especially, was being instructed to anticipate and follow in. You saw him do it a couple of times in the first half. Maybe that's the thought process, but it is frustrating at times to sort of think, is is this the best we can do? But
Yeah.
but that said, first 2/3 of the pitch, Chan was excellent.
Yeah, he was. He's really starting to find his feet in that position. I think one of the main sort of reasons he's doing this is he's doing the simple things very well. I think one of his biggest problems sometimes is when he's made mistakes in the past. I think sometimes he thinks he's a lot better than he is, or he's trying to be a lot better than he needs to be. He tries to do some stupid thing, especially in our own penalty box. A couple of times in the derby was one, and when we conceded against the other week against. When he conceded two, it was a mistake by him in the box as well. So he's really starting to just do the simple things well. Works hard, puts his foot in, gets the ball and gives it well. And that's all you kind of want from a player in that position, really. You don't want him to be over elaborate and start just trying to spray 50-yard balls all the time. Just get it and give it and keep the ball moving, which is what he did yesterday, because our tempo was really, very good when he was on the ball with Henderson.
I'm going to sound bad here. I thought he had a strong 20-25 minutes, and then I think once we scored, I wasn't overly impressed, if I'm honest. I think there was just little things. I've said it lots of times. I just think he just frustrates me sometimes, and I just want to. Joe, when there's a part in the game I can't remember, first half I think, and he's gone round one or two plays and he's shaped his shooting and he's given it away a little bit sloppy and stuff like that. I just winds me up. There's parts when I'm made up. It's Emre Can there, and then. Sometimes I wish you could just roll on, roll off and go, right, we'll just have Lucas for 10 minutes here, just doing the bits. And that'll come with maturity. And I'm sure he's going to evolve into a good player, but I'm still not fully sold on him there. I think he'd still be better on the sort of left of that, where Milner was yesterday. People have been crying out for him to play in the whole midfield position, and I understand why, in terms of him carrying the ball forward and offering you that extra thing that you don't normally get from a sort of...
What did you think when he went to centre-half?
I thought he did all right at centre-half. I was nervous when he went to centre-half as well, only really because of the last couple of times he's played centre-half. The last noticeable time, and although it was in the 3, is Stoke at 6-1.
That was right back, wasn't he? He was right back.
He was right of a 3, wasn't he?
He was actually right back, wasn't he?
He might have been right back.
But anyway, the last time it wasn't working for him at the back, was it? And when he goes there yesterday, I understand it, because when I seen Torre warming up, I was a little bit, it should be Origi, just drop Chan in. I understood that. But
He looked dominant, I thought, at centre half in brief. When the balls came up, he was off his feet. He was giving it a big head a couple of times.
He's an athlete, isn't he? Yeah. It's just the reading the game part for me.
He likes the game in front of him, though. I think that suits him in that.
Yeah,
not wide of a 3, not wide at full back. It's right in front of him. I actually think he'd be a decent centre half.
I always thought that was Gerrard's best thing, where you play the game with the ball in front of him, let him come onto the ball. Don't let the game be played behind him and then try and get involved. When Gerrard sort of played that advanced attacking midfield, a number 10 position, I always thought you were missing something, which was that Steven Gerrard striding onto the ball and hitting it from distance.
Well, when he wasn't playing that, I thought you were missing something, which was 24 goals in 41 games.
Yeah.
What I know. Right, mate.
You know what?
That's just me.
I'll tell you what I know. Funny if we could digress onto Gerrard very, very quickly. The Liverpool channel keeps showing Gerrard's great 250 odd goals or whatever it was. I don't know how many it was. But you notice in that season how many goals he gets by breaking the line, running for, like a striker running through, like Torres slipping him through. There's, I don't know, half a dozen goals, maybe 7. He breaks like a striker. Anyway,
but you could finish. You could finish. Okay, well, we've very much touched on Henderson and how impressive we thought he was. We'll shift ourselves onto Milner. We've mentioned the way you described him before, Rob, which is you watch him play the football match and then you sort of appraise it afterwards. You wonder whether or not he, perhaps like Lucas, maybe the idea that in certain games Emre Can might actually start at centre-back. You wonder whether or not Milner could be one of the footballers who becomes a bench option when we're trying to break sides down at home and gets himself most of the away games.
Yeah, I still have to sort of remind myself that he's not a good 2 years older than he actually is. 2 or 3 years older. It looks like it's taken a lot out of him. But then when you do watch it back, you realise he's putting a lot in. And I agree with you. You sometimes think if he'd put all that into just 30 minutes, that could be some impact on a football match. I think he might look a better player. He's possibly spreading himself too thin and over too many games. I was surprised we haven't. I thought we'd see more quality on the ball from Milner than we've seen. I know there's an assist and a half here or there this season that are nice. I think the cross to Benteke against Southampton. But I thought we'd see much more quality on the ball from him.
Yeah, I must admit, he's not quite lit the place up like I thought he would. I've seen a couple of times at City, and some of the movements and goals and sort of assists he did there. I was made up when we signed him. I thought, yeah, he's going to be a really good addition. He seems to be on the ball a lot and involved an awful lot of the time without really.
Do you think he's involved too much?
Yeah, I do. Without ever contributing a massive amount either, really. So I'm sure, I think he slows the play down quite a bit when he gets the ball as well. I don't think he moves it quick enough sometimes. And as you say, he can maybe, if possible, be involved too much and maybe spread himself a little thin, as Rob said. He needs to sort of kickstart for him at the moment. I don't think it's quite working for him. I'd like to see a little bit more from him, definitely.
I think he's been before, but even, and I'll include Rodgers in this. Do you think his intelligence and the amount of work he can get through almost leads the manager to spread him too thinly? You know, the idea that suddenly, that certain players, it's been quite clear since Klopp's come in, that certain players have been given defined roles. Origi's talk that the manager said to me, just focus on this, don't worry about doing 5 things, just worry about doing 2. All this sort of stuff. Do you wonder if Milner's found himself in this sort of, just going to everything, James? I've been saying recently, he's like the most disciplined free role ever that he's sort of got. And do you think it might be easier if someone just went, James, this is just your job for 90 minutes, mate. You're just going to do this and you're going to do that, and that's all you're going to do.
100%, yeah. He definitely tries to do too much for me. He tries to be everywhere at once and tries to be involved in everything. And he looks knackered at most of the time. With 10-15 minutes to go, he's pulling so. I definitely think a more defined role would help him. Ideally, the work I seen him do at City. He was always like a number 10 for me, working behind. There's kind of off the shoulder role with Gardner.
He can play with back to goal.
Yeah, and he was a lot more central for me. He did a lot of good work for them. I'm not too sure. I fancy him on that left hand side of that formation either. To be honest with you, I wouldn't mind seeing him a bit more central. But
I think he's falling between stools a little bit. Sorry, Neil. In that at City, he played very wide at times, didn't he? And you used to see him, is it with Kolarov or not Kolarov, Zabaleta?
Yeah.
He used to have these little combinations where they'd overload on the flank. He'd be the one in behind, put a superb ball across the corridor of uncertainty and do some damage. Or I think at Villa, he was very much the orthodox centre mid playmaker. I think he's maybe between stools.
You spoke then about Steven Gerrard breaking the lines. He did that an awful lot for Man City, I think. He used to always break the lines and get beyond the centre forward. I haven't seen him do that for us once yet.
Yeah, pace.
Yeah, but he could get about.
We could probably talk all day about him because there's a big, wide argument, but maybe this is why managers haven't played him central midfield, because versatility sometimes in a position like that, I don't think it's always a good thing. I think you're looking, all right, I want someone to support Klein going wide or Moreno going wide, whatever side of the midfield he's playing. James, you go and help him. James, you go and do this, you go and do that. I think that's sort of, all right, you're just the right midfielder today, or you're wide right. Just do that. Just give you one role, and it's simplifying it, like you were saying.
Might be a case of jack of all trades and master of none.
That's it. I think that's why maybe he hasn't played central midfield all his career, and why he's wanted to come here and say, oh, I can do this. Look what I did at Aston Villa. But now he's 5 years older, and maybe he hasn't got the energy to do it quite as he did.
But I wonder about that. The jack of all trades, master of none, is that he doesn't get the chance to be close to a master at one of the trades for sort of 60 minutes, 70 minutes of the game. It's like he's going to go and sort this out, he's going to do this, he's going to do this. It's one thing to be a utility player, and that's fine. And in fact, I think utility players are really important, and they shouldn't have gone out of fashion. I think it's one thing to be a utility player, but for instance, you mentioned Steve Nicol before. When Steve Nicol played right mid under Kenny Dalglish, it was because, and you got the impression Kenny Dalglish would just be saying, Steve, you're just playing right mid, mate. You're not also playing centre mid and right back and covering this. You're just playing right mid. And it feels like, with Milner, he can pop up in any of those front 6 positions when his life might just be a little bit easier if it was, you're just going to do this now, mate. Yeah. I thought when we were pushing on, you could see he was filling in at left back and everything. And when lads were going beyond, he was thinking, I've got to be the one here to think about this and think about this. Whereas Jordan Henderson, I think is a superior footballer, just gets to go and be Jordan Henderson. Yeah. Which I think is quite.
I thought the Milner role, let's call it that, works in a situation like at City a few weeks ago, where you want an extra man putting out an extra fire. So Moreno's fucked up, he's been caught out, and suddenly Milner's there. He's provided cover where you didn't expect it. He was all over the place there in the most positive way. But when you need something more guile at home, when it's about opening teams up, I think it's a different ballgame.
There's not as many fires to fight at home, is there? No. And that's the thing. I was listening to Michael Carrick this morning talking about central midfielders in general on that Graham Hunter podcast, and he was saying that now they try and sort of channel midfielders into what they are. And he said there's a forgotten thing in football with like Vieiras and Keanes and stuff who could just do a bit of everything, And I think James Milner probably falls into that sort of previously fashionable midfielder where he can do a bit of this and he can do a bit of that. He's not a defensive midfielder. He's not a right midfielder. He's not this or that. You know.
You see, I think Emre Can is potentially that's a great that sort of slightly older school midfield role is important. I think because it means you can destroy and be creative. That's the less one.
But it can leave you.
It can leave you indisciplined.
But it can leave you falling between the stools. But if you're not, it's quite a funny thing. I think it's happening to McCarthy at Everton.
Yeah.
I think there's a few players knocking around who I think could sort of do with being, in an old style 4-4-2, who found themselves, and I think you could be right about Chan, possibly Milner. Whereas when you break it up a little bit more, and it becomes you need this function. Whereas we are sort of asking Milner to do a bit of everything. And we could talk about it all day. We've talked about Henderson. I said before. We touched on Coutinho. Rob was right when he said, he was busy, but he was clearly coming back. I want to discuss before we sum up. We're just getting to the end of this. Lallana, Benteke, and Origi. Lallana should score. And this is where you said you praise his performance, and you're right to praise his performance, obviously, because I thought he did fine. He played pretty well. But when you're in that situation, it's a good save. It's a really good save, but you've got to do better. Yeah,
this is going to sound a harsh statement, but he cost us the game because he scores there. I think we win that. Absolutely. It was that bit earlier. I felt that against Man U last season. He had a harder chance, but one he should have slotted.
1-0.
Yeah. And we could have had something out of the game had that gone in. But I think we scored then at that point. It wasn't long after they'd gone in front. I think there's enough time to have won that game. He contributes really well to the opening goal, surprisingly winning a back post header. I thought he was bright, probably for an hour. I mean, I don't think Lallana's a 90-minute player, although he seems to be getting fitter and fitter. But he has to finish that. There's what can you say about it? But I don't want to. It should. I'm afraid it does denigrate from his performance because defining moments are what makes great footballers rather than average footballers. And he has to start. Well, he has to take that next time it happens.
I think he should score, but I want to just touch on. I think he's looking for Myhill to go. I think he's waiting and waiting and waiting. He's technically gifted enough to be able to wait, and he doesn't. And he stands big Myhill there, and. I think he wants to dink him. Yeah. I think he wants him to go to ground and try and sweep him out.
He tries to put it through his legs. I've watched it again. That's what he's trying. He thinks he's opened his legs just enough. He fucks. I think it's bold to try that.
I was watching a thing what Suarez would do, and Suarez would have dropped his shoulder, dragged it, and just knocked it in the near post. Yeah. And when you see the angle of it there, that's the sort of, and obviously Suarez
go
is
round
genius.
You mean?
Yeah, but do the half go round.
Exactly.
Where he's unbalanced. He sets himself, and as you say, he's trying to stand so tall. But and he's trying to do the nice little either through his legs or roll into the corner. Do really good save, Steve. But it is, as Rob says, this is the thing that if we're gonna play that sort of 4-3-2-1 and you're in the 2 and you get that chance, you've got to score it. Yeah. If this is Emre Can and he's through, we go, well, he's playing holding midfield. If it's Moreno and he gets through, we go, well, he's playing left back. Lad, you're in that. You're in the front third positions. Yeah. It's got to go in the back of the net.
I think so. With Lallana, it's a bit of I won't say a reoccurring theme with Lallana, but I don't think he gets enough goals from me in that position. I think we do need a lot more from goals wise. As the lads have said, he should score. It's a great save, but I agree with Rob. I think if that goes in, I think we're going to win the game. So
it's a great thread by Benteke.
I was going to say, I thought it was I don't know whether that took him by surprise a little bit because it was a great ball.
It's Benteke who lays it off for Coutinho to put it up for Lallana back post. It's a lovely move that involves all the attacking players. Benteke who turns that one round. We're in danger, I think, of because let's be quite clear about this. I'll say it again. I've been saying it more and more aggressively since that game. I was quite nice after that game. The performances of Firmino and Benteke, in hindsight, at Newcastle, a little short of disgraceful. That's to show such complete disinterest in linking up, and they're both responsible. Not to point the finger at any one of them, though the manager has gone with Benteke ahead of Firmino in this game here, Rob. But he was linking up. It's just he's not gonna be Daniel Sturridge, and this is where, whilst I think Sturridge's brief flowering at Southampton, and then the injury, the fact that he had that flowering before the injury has done Sturridge the world of good. I think what it's done is it's made everyone go, oh, well, Benteke's 32 million. He's not as good as that lad.
No, I know,
but I thought he was okay.
I did. I thought it was a decent performance. I think watched back, I think you'd see contributing. I think he was winning his little battles. He was winning his headers. His work on the ground was good.
No protection from the referee.
No, he wasn't. No, none at all, actually. And And then those moments where Coutinho had sighters and decided to take stupid shots, really, his movement was actually quite good at those moments, Benteke. I was quite encouraged. Klopp had clearly told us to mix it a little bit, so we weren't playing it ruthlessly on the deck. There were a couple of times where it was on to go long for him. It didn't always arrive at him, but they were clearly thinking about it, trying it. Yeah, I think Benteke is a clear case of, more so than Mignolet, where let's just calm down, forget about the price, and Benteke will get goals. In fact, he'll hit a purple patch where he'll get a lot of goals. He's fine. We have to adapt to the way he plays a little bit.
I don't want to be too critical here. I think Benteke will score those goals. I do. I think he will get us a few goals. I'm not convinced he's a Liverpool player for me at the moment. I think he dictates the way we play sometimes. We did try and mix it up a little bit yesterday, I must admit. I think with Lallana and Coutinho trying to play these little deft 1-2s, little balls around the corner. I just don't think he reads the game good enough for me, Benteke, at the moment. I know, he's definitely a good player to bring on, say, the last 15 minutes yesterday when you start launching balls in the box. I know we're limited options as well at the front at the moment. I'm still to be convinced by Benteke. I'm not writing the guy off yet. Long way to go. And it's a big price tag, but he's got a lot of work to do for me to...
I don't think we do him any favours, to be honest. I think every time he plays, we almost feel we can just isolate him and just play the little lads. I think he could have done yesterday with someone off him. I used to say a lot. I'm trying to think who it was. Maybe Sturridge and Suarez or something. When only one of them played, we always look better with a two. Where you put in Jonas Olsen and who's the other centre half? Sorry, the other lad from yesterday. They're two big strapping centre-halves. It's hard for him as a one to make a big impact against West Brom. He could have done with a Firmino or an Origi yesterday.
Well, maybe not a Firmino, but this is where, again, it comes back to the fact that Lallana doesn't score. So if you've got another forward on there, you're maybe not linking it up as well, but you've got the idea that Henderson can find one, that Coutinho can be looking to play, the other can find Benteke, Coutinho can be looking to play the other one in. You think, if we're going to have to kick these doors down against these sides at home, that could be the best way to do it.
I agree, but I think when you're a one up front and you're having to deal with four big centre halves like he does yesterday, if you're a two up front, you might only have to deal with two. It's half the battle, whereas the lads in behind aren't having to deal with them at all. They're in the pocket. So I think I think it was a thankless task for Benteke yesterday. Don't think he had a great game. I think he's a good footballer. I think he'll score goals, but I do think playing them as a one and expecting all of that against West Brom at home, who are building walls, I just think it's going to be really difficult.
Okay then, it's been the Anfield Wrap this week. Origi played well, obviously gets the equaliser and deserves what he gets. To the Anfield Wrap this week, Liverpool 2 versus West Bromwich Albion 2. Rob Gutman's took stock of the operation. Stephen Evans has had a good chat about the goalkeeper. And Paul Senior remains to be convinced by Emre Can. Not much changes around here, but we'll be back with more Anfield Wrap later in the week.